Women have the power to transform this world. We can end crime and violence if we all agree to do one thing: share. Let's share our wisdom, share our time, share our talent, share our finances, but most of all, let's share our love. This is the Female Solution. Join me, Naima Latif, every morning, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, as we bring you stimulating discussions about the issues affecting our lives. If you're listening online at www.blogtalkradio.com/the-female-solution, press the blue button that says follow and get our daily topics every morning directly to your email and your smartphone. Hi, I'm Naima Latif, executive producer of the Female Solution radio show. We invite you to call in 515-605-9325 and participate in this daily think tank as we examine the challenges we face and develop solutions that restore peace and harmony. We are global transformers, changing the world from the way it is to the way it should be. We are one. Wherever we live on this earth, we are one human family. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to extend a greeting to all the members of our family, whenever and wherever you may be listening around the world. To our family in China, Ni Hao. In India, Namaste. In Japan, Konnichiwa. In Korea, Annyeonghaseyo. In Russia, Здравствуйте. In Germany, Guten Tag. In Poland, Dzień dobry. In France, Bonjour. In Spain, Hola. In Italy, Ciao. In Egypt, Ahlan wa sahlan. In Ghana, Akwaba. In Nigeria, Peleo. In South Africa, Sawubona. In Senegal, Nangadek. In Kenya, Jambo. In Israel, Shalom. In Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Saudi Arabia, Assalamu alaikum. Greetings, and may peace be upon you all. What if you could live to be 120 years old and remain active, healthy, alert, and vibrant? Our bodies are made up of cells that are constantly rejuvenating. So if we take proper care of ourselves, we can literally defy aging. Join us every Tuesday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Standard Time to learn about self-care from Suson Essentials on the Female Solution Blog Talk Radio Show. Learn how to help your body and your cells feel rejuvenated each day through proper nutrition, sleep, frequency medicine, and many unconventional methods of self-care. I'm Jodi Suson. Join me and my amazing guests by calling in at 515-605-9325 and press 1 to speak. We'll help you achieve a breakthrough in your health today.
Well, welcome everybody to Tuesday, June 28th, and the Female Solution Self-Care. And we're so excited to share with you today Don Sandel and his brilliant works with positive Mindshift. And he really talks about the science behind, the science behind positive thinking. And this is actually one of my favorite topics because we have a lot of programming. We have an opportunity to unwind that programming. And, I will tell you that even when you think you've done it, there's always more to do. Just saying. Life is an endless journey of learning and opportunity for co-creation and transformation. So prior to bringing Don on, which I will do in about a moment, I just like to share with people at the beginning of the show why I do this show. So, and there's nothing better than a picture. So here we go. So I was over-medicated. I went from being actually a bodybuilder. I was over medicated, misdiagnosed, and put on about, I don't know, 20 different medications for 2 decades. And at the end of 2013, I had to make a choice. I had to make a conscious choice to reclaim my health. And that included mind, body, and spirit. And if you want to, if you're watching this, you can actually scan this this QR code, and you can download my book for free, um, Informed Choices. So this journey makes me very passionate. And actually, I don't like that word, and I can talk to you about it later, but we'll use it for now. Very passionate about what Don has to say. So let me bring on Don Sandel. Grand Rising.
Good morning. Good morning, Jodi.
How are you?
Wonderful, wonderful, of course. Nice to see you again.
Likewise. And now we're in different states. So you and I used to both live in Illinois. You still are there. I hightailed it off to Georgia, which is such a beautiful place to be. We get to go hiking and create that positive vibe, right? Which for me in Georgia is easy to do because I like to hike, and that makes me happy. So
wonderful, wonderful. Well, thanks for having me on.
Well, I'm so happy to have you on. You know, you're such a force of nature, and I've always had such great admiration for you, and I was so grateful when we met a few years ago. And I think that you have a lot to teach the world. So why don't we start off by you sharing why you even started looking into the importance of our brain health and our mindset, like that.
Well, it was a circuitous route for sure, because I was in the corporate world, Jodi, if you remember. I was in the corporate world running leadership development for a couple different companies for about 35 years.
Mm-hmm.
And while I was running leadership development, I was actually getting a little bit frustrated because we weren't having the impact and seeing that kind of transformative change in our leaders that I really thought with our efforts and time and all of that we were gonna see these profound changes. So I started to get right to the very beginning. How does our brain learn, right? So then I could create this wonderful curriculum for our leaders. As I was studying how the brain learns, I kept running into positive psychology research. It was fascinating. And so I quickly transitioned from how does the brain learn? And I dove deep into positive psychology research, ended up getting a certificate. So I embedded positive psychology into a lot of the leadership training that I was doing and created a workshop on positive performance. And do you know, Jodi, that it was the one workshop that had a wait list of leaders trying to get into it?
Yeah,
so that's what started the whole thing.
Yeah, and I can get that because people, here's the thing, people are suffering because they don't know different. And until a leader like yourself comes in and shows them that we can have different, that's not even in their field to think that it's possible for them. And so thank you for creating a possibility for others.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was fascinating. It was fascinating that people ended up just getting on the wait list. But then I was invited to speak at internal conferences,
Mm-hmm.
and then invited to speak at external conferences, and then global conferences. And it wasn't long, Jodi. And you know how this is, right? You take that risk to start your own business.
Mm-hmm.
So then I started Go Positive about 4 years ago. And no surprise, Jodi, it has been going gangbusters ever since.
That is amazing. That's exciting. And yeah, it is. It's, to take a step into the unknown, which when you start your own business, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're taking a step into the unknown going, okay, God, I hope you got me now.
But you know what? This is where I can give you some credit too, because it takes huge courage to start your own business, to be an entrepreneur. And I know you're killing it, and you deserve all the success that you have.
Thank you. Yeah, we're doing very well. My husband and I run the business together. And and when we moved to Georgia, right, that was another huge risk because
Sure.
we really didn't know anybody. So we're basically building our business again from scratch for in-person clientele. And actually, one of the gifts of um, COVID was that we both had built um, a lot of remote clients.
Mm.
So we were able and are able to take those clients with us wherever we go.
But
So,
you know what? I love what you just did there, Jodi. Sorry to interrupt, but I have to point this out.
yeah,
The way that you reframed something that was negative and turned it to a positive. So, of course, we all know how dark and difficult going through COVID was, but there actually were some growth and development and learnings that manifested out of it. And I love the way that you reframed what COVID was.
yeah, thank you for that. I mean, there's actually a lot of gifts. Let me name 3 for you. One, we learned to engage with others outside of the current reality, right? Which was
Sure.
through technology. It opened up the lines of communication around the world.
Yeah.
I have clients in Italy, Dubai, Israel. I have clients all over the world. And would I have done that or explored that? Or would they have explored me? Maybe, maybe not. Don't know.
Necessity is the mother of invention.
It really is. And so then the other thing, for a lot of people, now I had already been through this, but for a lot of people, it gave them the opportunity to recreate what their work looked like. Where
Sure.
were they being fulfilled and not fulfilled? And you're probably familiar with Dr. John D. Martini, or not. He's a human behaviorist, one of the contributing authors to the book The Secret. And he states, live by your highest values. Now, whether people know of the book or know of the thought process is irrelevant because they're doing it. They're now shifting their current reality, and they're living by they're either living by their highest values or working towards living by their highest values. Would you agree?
Yeah. And yeah, I'm actually a pretty good example of what you're describing because in once COVID hit, yeah, I lost about 20 different keynotes and workshops and presentations because they were all in person.
Right.
I had to make a choice, an intentional choice to do something that I had been hesitant to do, and that was to leverage technology, leverage Zoom.
Right.
And all of a sudden, 45 days later, I've got a program via Zoom that then sold like hotcakes. So, sometimes opportunities present themselves, and we just have to think abundance and think outside our comfort zone.
Yeah, totally, totally. And I want to just say this, and we got some comments coming through. If you are listening to the show, so which you can listen on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Podbean. Let's make sure Podbean's live. Yay, it's live. Um, or Blog Talk Radio. You can call into the show, and the number scrolling on the bottom of the page. It's 515-605-9325. And you can just listen when you call in, right? Or if you have a question for Don, you can, or me, you can press the number 1, and we'll get a notification backstage that you want to ask a question of Don about, how to shift your mindset. And so we have Christina, and she says, yes, it takes great courage, especially when you're teaching something outside of the box. Amen, sister. And Teddy June says, good morning. Good morning, sweet sister. I've known her forever. And she's a bright light in this world. So if you guys have any questions, you can, there's a number at the bottom of the screen, 515-605-9325. Press 1 to ask questions, and I will check back there and just dial us up. And so while we're waiting for people to call in, I would be grateful if you would share with, look at this. We have my husband.
Wow, here we go. It's a technical workshop.
Yeah, here we go. We got a workshop and the girls are joining us. So good morning. Good morning, Andrew. You were on the show. I don't think his volume is up yet.
Can't hear you.
Oh, you can't hear? Okay. I'm going to let you work on by the way, Don, I love where you have Go Positive positioned. It's awesome. It's perfect.
Yeah, you would think that I'm really some marketing genius, but it was really the only place to put it in my office. Truth told.
I can't hear you.
Oh, shoot. Okay, so
I can't hear you, Jodi. Sorry.
That's okay. So why don't you, I'll take you out of the stream for the moment. Go ahead and do a reboot or something. And Fagala, hold on. That's Fagala, Don. That's her girl.
Nice to see your birds again.
Thank you. All right. So tell us, what do you feel like when you think about all the things that help others and yourself, of course, you always want to start with self, that help you to shift your mindset? What's your top 3?
Boy, so you're hitting us right at the beginning. What are those things, right? What are those things that we can do to shift our mindset, right?
Yeah, I mean, because really people want to know, right? People want, and some of it I think is just so simple, but until we know about it, it seems hard.
Yeah, well, and it's really not. And these are all evidence-based, research-based interventions, activities, behavior changes. And none of them are going to be shocking to anybody. For instance, build authentic relationships, right?
Yes.
There are multiple studies that underline that basic human need that we all have that was really challenged again during COVID.
Yeah.
Right. It was very hard to kind of build those informal connections because we were so disconnected from each other. But building authentic relationships is probably that number one way to sustain our happiness long term, right? It's not things. It's not the beautiful house in the suburbs. It's not the shiny new car. It's not even the promotion at work. Those things don't sustain our happiness for the long term. And maybe we can talk about this in a little bit, but the way that most of us are pursuing our positive emotions is wrong, right? I won't be happy until I get the house, I get the shiny new car, I get the promotion. No, it's pursue your positive emotions, your happiness. Pursue that first, and then success will follow.
I couldn't agree more. I'm going to try adding Andrew back to the stream. Hold on one second.
And Andrew and the birds.
Andrew, can you hear us now? I'm going to go with a no. Try the volume. Well, I mean, it's obvious, but try the volume button.
Come on, Andrew. You can do it. We have faith in you.
Well, I mean, while Andrew's navigating the technology, so, let's talk about building authentic relationships. I think it's worth talking about in detail because for me, building authentic relationships. I think it's worth talking about in detail because for me, building authentic. Okay. So Andrew, you have multiple windows open. And so when you get a chance, just go ahead and close that out and then we can unmute you and bring you back in. All right. Sounds like, are we good? Yes. Hey, technology is what technology is. It's all good, Andrew. Don't you worry about a thing. All right. Oh, you don't have audio. Doesn't have audio. Interesting. All right. We'll smile anyway. It's okay. We'll work around it and it'll show its.
He looks like he's growing in frustration. He needs to read a little positive Mindshift.
Yeah. So, and he can't hear us. So, okay.
Yeah. So you wanted to dig a little bit deeper into building relationships, right?
Yeah. Authentic relationships, right? So authentic relationships, I think, and then, is about active listening, right? And really, you have to ask questions of the people that you're around and care about what they have to say.
Yeah, I love you bringing up the idea of listening, because listening is it's a conduit to value,
Mm-hmm.
right? When you know that you are being listened to,
Mm-hmm.
you feel valued. But when somebody you could tell is looking behind you and astray, and you don't feel that they're really listening to you, you don't feel valued. So in terms of building an authentic relationship, the depth of the relationship is equal to the depth of the listening. So I love it that you brought up listening, and I think again you were spot on.
Thank you. And I want to expand, do a yes and here, because you said the depth of the listening translates to how people feel valued. So what I think is important to note is what's the opposite of that. If we're not listening, so if I do this while you're talking and I've got my phone in my hand and I'm doing this.
Sure. Happens all the time, right?
Right, it does. And it invalidates the person you're with.
Yeah. Which is why I use the word value, right? We feel devalued.
Yeah. And so when I'm on the show, sometimes I do have to pick this up in order to manage. So one of the things that I do, so sometimes you have to turn your face or you have to do something. Let that person know, hey, I am still active listening and I need to get this out because we're running the show.
Yeah.
You're
the interviewer, you are the producer.
Right. And so it's okay to have to do something that's maybe not in complete alignment of how we think it should be done, that adds value. So if you have to, the next, transparency, right? Which still builds that authentic relationship.
Right. And lots of times transparency gets returned to you, right? It's reciprocal. So as you become more vulnerable, you show more transparency, that will be returned back to you, which really starts to deepen that relationship.
I couldn't agree with you more. It's like, when I wrote my book in 2016, actually, no, it's really not even a book. It's a chapter in a book. So it's an anthology. And my chapter was Informed Choices. And I let everybody know what happened to me on my health journey, the good, the bad, the evil, and the embarrassing things, the really embarrassing things. And I chose not to be embarrassed, right? Because by my transparency about my health journey, my intention was to help people recognize that what was happening to me, not okay. I mean, I'll tell you the most humiliating thing that I had to share in the book. Okay, for me, I would wake up. Yeah, I'd wake up in the morning, cold and wet, because I had incontinence in bed, and my whole brain shut off. And I didn't even wake. I mean, I didn't even know that I had to go to the bathroom, but I basically peed myself and the bed was wet. Now, and most people would just cringe at having to tell that. But here's the thing. I had to tell it because it was a drug that was actually turning my brain off. So if I'm not telling you that that this drug or compilation of drugs are doing this to my brain, then how am I supporting anybody else in reclaiming their health? And and it happens.
And that vulnerability, that telling that challenging story, that, as you call it, embarrassing story, also builds trust with whoever's reading that text. Because if you're willing to share that vulnerability, that opens them up to a little bit more self-examination as well.
Yeah, and for me, the most important part is what you just said. I want them to open themselves up to themselves, to release being in denial, transmute denial. We don't need to deny what's going on. The truth sets you free.
So let me share in terms of authentic relationships. I'll share really quick a brief a study from Harvard. So Harvard did a study, Jodi, that started in 1938. It was a longitudinal study, and it took about 75 years to do this study. And what they did is they followed the lives of almost 1,000 men out of the Boston area.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they did annual tests, and they interviewed their family, they interviewed their spouses. Some of the men went to Harvard, some of the men stayed and worked around the Boston area, some even went to WW2. Anyhow, they followed these men for the totality of their lives. When the study was complete, 70 plus years later, 75 plus years later, they discovered a number of things, but here's the key thing that they learned is that they learned that the number one thing to sustaining your happiness, was your relationships, period. It took them 75 plus years to figure this out, and we probably knew this anyhow, right? But it did validate kind of what we know, how important our relationships are. And in fact, I know you just showed the cover of the book. Relationships are so important that at the close of every chapter in my book, thank you, it's very sweet of you. At the close of every chapter in my book, I have an activity for the reader to do.
Yes.
The very first activity is about building authentic relationships because it's that important to sustaining our long-term happiness.
Yep.
Here we go. There it is.
Yeah, the authentic. So, and Andrew's saying, let's see. He's saying our relationships definitely are the key to happiness. Christina says, yes, we are herd animals at our core. We need each other. Well done, Christina. And thank you, Andrew. And I've got Andrew's going to plug in over Blog Talk with his voice. So we're just going to add him in. So hold on.
And I love it that Christina shared that idea because our connecting with other people is a shared basic human need. It's a genetic need. It's an evolutionary need, right? Early humankind needed to connect with other people in order to survive, to perpetuate the species. So that very basic human need, we still carry with us to this day. But again, it really got disrupted during COVID, which is why so many people were suffering from depression, anxiety, fear, frustration during COVID, especially during the shutdown.
Yeah. So, yes.
And Don,
go ahead,
still
Andrew.
suffering, right? People are suffering all around the world.
Well, suffering doesn't end. But yeah, people are still suffering, but in a different way these days.
So go ahead, Andrew. You were saying?
Well, that's what the point I was going to make. And he's absolutely right. And we talk about relationships being the key to happiness. And it's hard to have relationships when you're shuttered in for 2 years or restricted severely for 2 years. And so, as Don and Jodi know better than I do, the residual effects of that are going to last for a long time. And so that the depression, the anxiety, all those negative emotions that people have generated through that quote lockdown period aren't going away just because things have lifted.
Well, because we've now retrained our brains, right, Andrew? So a lot of people have retrained their brains over to, it only takes 21 days to develop a habit, people. So what are you retraining yourself to be? Does it serve you, right? And oh my gosh, Christina's piping in. She says, then it becomes extremely important to build a healthy relationship with who? Yourself. Love yourself first.
Which means, let me add on to
Yes,
what
please.
Christina put there, and she's exactly right. But how do we do that?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Well,
how do we do that? Right? We can't take care of others until we've really taken care of ourselves. Right?
yes.
And we can better take care of others when we better take care of ourselves. But here's the key to really taking care of ourselves, and it is changing how we talk to ourselves.
Oh.
Right? If we can kind of listen to our language that we use, our self-talk, if we can listen to that language, and we can, because humans can do it and animals can't. It's called metacognition. We can actually think about our thinking. Animals can't, we can. But we have to be a little bit more intentional about listening to our self-talk and changing that self-talk. Researchers tell us that about 80% of our self-talk is negative.
Yeah, I've seen it.
We need to change that. And to get to Christina's point, if we can start to change our self-talk and change that default from a negative to a positive, and that our language to ourselves is full of, as she writes, love and understanding, how much better we are going to be able to care for ourselves.
All day, and we have other the board lit up. So
take the other caller.
Well, Andrew, I can actually invite you in. So I'm just going to do a quick tech thing here, and I have to do commercials. So number one, Andrew, stay. I'm going to send you, hold on a second. I'm going to send you a guest call-in number so you can join us, and then go ahead and join us on StreamYard, and just have yourself muted, but you can talk through here, through Blog Talk, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
All right. So we always have workarounds, right? So we always have choices in the matter. And then, so I'm going to close that off. And then I have we have lots of hands up. So we're going to go to commercial, but I'm telling you, we will come and answer your questions as soon as we come back. I am so grateful that you all are here. You're engaging. You've got questions. You're beautiful people. So I am going to just navigate this real quick. Here we go.
The Female Solution Global Radio TV Show invites you to an invigorating conversation with our team of hosts Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Time. Start your week with Monday Morning Mindfulness with Zelda Speaks. Tuesdays, Self-Cell Care with Jodi Suson. Wednesdays, Repairing Broken Families with Naima Latif and co-host Kareem Hamid. Thursdays, Soulful Solutions with Dr. Debbie Green. And Fridays, Health and Wellbeing with Beata. Saturdays, tune in 12 noon to 2 p.m. Central Time. First Saturday, Success Strategies with Jana. Second Saturday, Wendy Williams Esquire on relationships. Third Saturday, Move Around with Deborah. And fourth Saturday, Wisdom with Mama D. Join us Sundays, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Central Time for Soul Purpose Healing with Beata. Call in and comment 515-605-9325. Press 1 to speak to the host and be a part of the solution.
Crime in Chicago continues to increase. Community and politicians must come together to make a change. No one person can solve these problems by themselves, but I believe together we can make progress. Let's provide job training, economic growth, and invest into our 77 communities. Let's rebuild and restore Chicago. Vote for me for mayor of Chicago. I'm Dr. Willie Wilson, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Willie Wilson for mayor.
All right. And we got one or two more quick commercials.
Hi, I'm Jodi Suson with Suson Essentials. I started Suson Essentials in 2015 because of a personal health journey. I was over-medicated and put on 19 different medications. And yes, I reversed all my chronic diseases using plant and energy-based healing. It was amazing. At Suson Essentials, we support both consumers and businesses, and we do that with helping your employees or yourself with a food as medicine mindset. How Suson Essentials supports businesses and consumers is we teach people about a food as medicine mindset. So we support people on how to support their own immune system, how to support their brain health, how to support their emotional well-being. And we do that all with plant and an energy-based healing.
All right. So we're going to do a quick test on Andrew's audio. Can you hear me, Andrew? Thumbs up or thumbs down? I'm going to take that as a thumbs down. So what I'm going to do, Andrew, is I'm going to dial you. I sent him a chat. I'm just going to dial him so he has the opportunity to converse with us. And there we go.
Hi, Jodi.
Oh, okay. So I guess it's not really going to work because of the reverberation. Let's see. Go ahead and speak.
Okay. I'm with
Yeah.
YouTube.
Okay. Go ahead and talk now. Oh, go ahead and talk now.
Try again and see how this works.
So you were actually coming through on audio on the other one. Hold on. Go ahead and speak now. Oh, he can't hear me, but we can hear him. Okay. All right. So we're
Hi.
okay. So you can't actually hear me, but I can hear you, and I can't mute you because then I have to mute you again. I'm going to have you call in on the show number. Try it again. Okay.
Well, that's fine, but you've got other callers.
We do.
Take them first.
All right. Thanks.
They want to talk to you and Don.
All right. So we've got some callers. So we've got 773-960. We'll bring you on. I'd like to know your name and where you're calling from and what your question is. And welcome to the show. This is Jodi Suson with Self Care. What's your name and where you're calling from?
Yeah, good show, as always.
And welcome to the show. This is Jodi Suson with Self Care. What's your name and where you're calling from?
Yeah, good show, as always.
So I'm sorry, it's we had some technical difficulties. Go ahead. Could you repeat yourself?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Cherokee James, indigenous Indian here in America, aka Kufu James.
How are you?
One of the lucky survivors of the mental trauma. I'm lucky because first I'm Indian, and we don't practice anything that the government does. I'm gonna call you back. I got a chart.
Okay. So why don't we go ahead and take the next caller? So 773-366 or 779-801.
Grand Rising. Good morning. This is Maika. So glad to hear you this morning with your guest.
Good Grand Rising, Maika. How are you this morning?
I feel wonderful, and I was listening to your conversation, and especially the part where you were talking about relationships, and it made me reflect on my most important relationship, and that's with my source God. And I remember a day years ago, maybe a year and a half ago, when Source God came and told me to end my radio show, to no longer be a part of the broadcast, which took place at this particular time every Tuesday from 7 to 9. And I was not reluctant to do that because I needed to focus my attention on some other things anyway. And I've learned to follow directions when they come from Source God. And so I closed the radio show down. And the blessing in that was you took this spot. And you have brought healing into my life. And I am so grateful for what you have brought into my experience as a result of doing what I was told to do. So thank you so much, Jodi.
Thank you, Maika.
What a great testimonial. Thank you for sharing that. I know that's something that Jodi, with how hard she works, probably really needed to hear. So thanks for sharing that.
I really did need to hear that.
I actually woke up thinking about that.
You know,
and then it was like, I share that with you.
So thank you. I want to tell you, so I'm going to back up for a moment. I'm in training off-site for 2 weeks. It ends July 2nd, and it's on divine intervention, spontaneous remission. So what that means is that through bringing in source energy, we can actually help people spontaneously reclaim their health. And you can do it just with one person or a group. And right now we're doing it in community, which I'd like to talk about the community in a minute. And we talked about how people will respond to healers in one of many ways, but they will either value it so much and throw way too much money at the healer. And a healer is nothing more than the conduit for God. That's all a healer is. The healer is not the one to be put on the pedestal. The healer is not the one to, we just don't put him on a pedestal, because what we do is we just access source energy and let God do the work. And then there's other people that when they are healed, they attack their healer. And it really is very hard on the healer's heart. And so I needed to hear this morning what you had to say. And I'm so grateful beyond words. I can't even begin to tell you. So, thank you.
Put a little joy in your heart.
So, I bet you. So, Maika, I have someone texting in on our show who's got a great question, and I think we should all talk about it together. It says, has there been research on authentic relating virtually versus in person? This is from our friend Philip.
Would you read that again? Because
Sure.
a bell came in and I didn't hear it.
Yeah. So if anybody has, maybe Don, can you make sure you have like a do not disturb on your computer? If the question is, has there been research on authentic relating virtually versus in person?
I'm sure there has. This is what we do know for sure, is that it is harder to build relationships, authentic relationships, through Zoom, MS Teams, virtually, primarily because it's a little bit harder to read people, read their full body, their body language, their nonverbal communication. It's a little bit more difficult. it's also a little bit more difficult to connect with people informally. Let me give you an example. Back when I worked in the corporate world and we were in the office all the time, I could just walk down the hall and have a brief informal conversation with somebody. That happened a dozen times a day, if 24 times a day, right? That was very easy to build that relationship. So it's a little bit more of a challenge to build that authentic relationship through Zoom, through MS Teams. Having said that, that doesn't mean that it can't be done, right? It just involves a little bit more intentionality, that I'm going to go out of my way to communicate with this person, that I'm going to try to replace the drop-in when we used to just drop into somebody's office. And I'm going to replace that with a text, with a message, with a phone call, and actually intentionally try to build that relationship. I think it's a little bit more of a challenge, but it can be done.
I agree. Going back to what I'm doing here till July 2nd, I'm living with about 12 people. I think it's 12. And we're in community. Like, we're living together, eating together, sleeping together, learning together, training together, and fine-tuning our skill sets together. Well, that's a gift, right? I mean, you get to know someone really fast. You get to learn about having compassion, grace, and allowing people to be, and asking questions about what's happening for them, and also being the gift of wisdom for them, and they get to be the gift of wisdom to you. That relationship. It's the cooler effect that you're talking about, where you get to keep on having these interactions with people. It's huge. And so I think that it's important to get back into community. Like, stop living in fear of being
like
to you.
Jodi. I'd like to speak to that.
Yes, please.
I actually had that experience. I don't know if you said you're doing that now. Mm-hmm. Were you saying you live with 12 people now?
Yes, until July 2nd while I'm in training. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
So it was for 14 days.
I lived with that as we were developing community, people who we came together. We weren't family, and we decided on some conscious intentions, and we basically to learn to grow food, because for us that meant freedom, to be able to feed ourselves. And so that was our goal, to learn that we all came from the city, and we became a community. And we were very successful as food growers across the United States, as different farmers came and taught us different aspects. The last one was Reverend Al Couch, who was one of the forerunners of the organic movement. And that was in Hiram, Ohio. So it was a wonderful experience. And living close to people, like you say, you get to know people. You know, like if I only see you once a month or talk to you once a week, then every time I see you, you can be in your best form. But I'm right upon you, and we're living. You can't fake who you are over a month. So you get to really know people in community, and that their authenticity comes out. So I agree. Community is so very important, and for us to come together, to love and be loved by one another, we need that.
Yeah, I was hurting for that, right? I really needed to be around people. I love being around people. I'm certainly like-minded people. It's much easier.
And I wanted to thank Philip for that initial and original question. Thanks, Philip. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and so Philip, what I want to ask is, and Philip, if you want to call into the show, the number's 515-605-9325. So Philip, what do you think? I mean, if we don't actually have research, but we have opinion. What's your opinion? What's your opinion about relating virtually versus in person? And you can call in, or you can write your thoughts on in the thread like you just have, because it is a really good question. So, and what time we got? 8:50, and we have Maika. I'm gonna answer the next call, unless was there something else you would like to share while we're waiting for responses. Or do you have a question
I
for
did
Don?
want to mention that how COVID was a benefit to me. I even felt guilty, thinking I may have brought it on into being. I had injured my shoulder, and I was constantly being approached by people, strangers, and everybody wanting to hug me. And I'm not a touchy. I don't need hugs. I don't like hugs. I got so many hugs as a child. I'm fine. That's my position. And so, when I speak and lecture, I tell people, make sure you hug people, but I'm all right. But anyway, so I'm constantly fighting off these hugs, and then men like to shake hands, and I'm not a handshaker. I think that's a very masculine activity. So I choose not to do it because I'm not trying to be masculine. So COVID came, and I no longer had to do any of those things. It was like, oh, this is a blessing. I don't have to shake hands. I don't have to hug, and I don't have to explain. So I felt very blessed at one level for COVID.
Well, you found the positive in the negative. That's a great skill to have.
So Don, what do you think about the power of and how it impacts, or if at all? I mean, I don't know if this is in your book. The power of touch on brain health.
Can you restate that question?
So the power of touch, meaning a hug or holding a hand or shaking a hand, on brain health and feeling good and feeling positive.
Yeah, and that brings up one of the dose chemicals, one of the neurotransmitters that we get. So it's a fascinating process, the way that we get rewarded for beneficial behaviors, right? And there's usually 4 or 5 neurotransmitters that get released to promote beneficial behaviors. Dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins, GABA. Those are the neurotransmitters, the happy chemicals, if you will. And when we touch, among other things, when we touch, when we're intimate, when we pet a dog, we get a release of oxytocin. Oxytocin is both a hormone and a neurotransmitter, but it makes us feel good, and it encourages relationship building. It's a very physiological, it's a very biological way to reward people, to connect with people. And we get this release of oxytocin when we hug people, when we touch people, when we're intimate, when we're petting a dog, when somebody meets our expectations or builds trust with us, we get this release of oxytocin that helps us to feel euphoric, happy, positive emotions. Well, the whole reason that we get that reward is that is our system wanting us to repeat that beneficial behavior. So that idea of touching being beneficial is huge and well researched.
Yeah, and I
definitely.
Yeah. And so Maika, I'm going to tell you a short story about touch. One is when I was sick, I had small fiber neuropathy, which was all over body pain. And so I did not enjoy being touched, and massage was clearly not on the table, like because of that.
No pun intended.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah. Actually, no pun was intended. I just got it now. So, and I had to inch my way back to being touched. Okay. And there's a lot of evidence, like Don said, and I will even go back to how infants need to be coddled and held just like they felt like when they were in the womb. And so if you don't want to be touched, I would encourage you to explore why that might be so. And because I think that if you do explore it and you can invite it into your life, you might have a shift in your health, in your mental health, your physical health, like the whole 9 yards, like that.
Well, let me say this, Jodi. You see it as a malady. I see it as a natural formation in my life that's different from other people. As a child, I got a lot of attention and I got positive touch coming up. I realize in this society, most people don't get that. It was non-sexual touch. And so I grew up in a household where, in a community where people were very positive and towards children. So I'm not lacking in that area. But when complete strangers just come out of nowhere and just want to touch you, I have a problem with that because I have boundaries. I said boundaries.
Oh, all day,
me.
healthy boundaries. I misunderstood.
Right, healthy boundaries say you can't come in here and just touch me, or hug me or any of that. So because I'm a sensitive person, so I take on people's energies. I've had men who've shaken my hand and hugged me with lustful thoughts. Well, I'm a single woman. I don't need that on me, So I keep that at a distance. I don't need to hug you. We can talk. So talk has become the most important thing to me. Let's communicate.
But if it's a family member,
don't change nothing.
Let me ask you a question. If it's a family member,
Go ahead,
are you willing to hug them?
Say that again.
If it's a family member, are you willing to hug them?
Yes. It depends. Yes, I don't have a problem with everybody touching me, just some people.
I get you. Honey, you have great boundaries, healthy boundaries.
Let me give you an example. Right before COVID, I was visiting this church. It was a church in Chicago where Martin Luther King Jr. came and spoke. And it's a Jewish synagogue. And I was just marveling at the architecture. And all at once I hear the minister say up front to the congregation, now go and find 10 people to hug. Now all these people are rushing towards me, and I'm the newbie, right? And my shoulder hurts. I'm fighting off people.
Yeah. I get you. So, well, we thank you, Maika. Thank you so much for calling in. We're gonna.
I appreciate you and your guests.
Thank you. So let me go ahead and put that back here. So back to Philip Shannon. First of all, thank you again for participating. He says, I don't find virtual as satisfying. Co-workers don't tend to chit-chat as much virtually. They are also more distracted, especially if they don't put their video on. How do you encourage people to engage virtually, Don?
Set expectations up front. And one, I have to model the behavior, right? Set expectations up front. And there's been enough research done in terms of the value people get out of virtual connection, that if their video is on, they tend to communicate more, they tend to communicate better, and they also tend to learn more. So usually when I'm doing face-to-face and it's virtual, I'm encouraging the audience or the people in the workshop to have the video on. They will learn and participate at a much deeper level. I mean, Philip's not wrong. He's exactly right. Philip is exactly right. That's part of the problem with virtual. That's why people are dying to get back together again. But in the reality, we still have to use MS Teams. We still have to use Zoom. I set the example. I clarify expectations, and I really request that people have their videos on as often as possible.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you. And I just want to And Philip, if you have anything else you want to share with that, please, put it in the chat. Thank you. We appreciate you participating. And then Christina has a couple of questions here, or not questions, thoughts. She says, in a healthy body, I believe this is so. In a body filled with toxins like mine is arsenic, it hijacks the energetic system and throws the dopamine and serotonin levels off. Oh, because of the energetic exchange. Yeah. So, and she says, ultimately, production of these chemicals or lack of impacted that greatly. So I think what she's trying to say, and I understand that, is that, our bodies are electrical bodies. And so there's an energy exchange. And that's probably, I think that's a great topic for another show. And actually maybe Christina, you and I can do that show. So, but it's a really good point. Now, Andrew says, which I would thank you. I'm just going to thank you. We have to go to commercial right now. We would like you to share some of the insights you gained when writing your new book, because they're pretty amazing. Let me go to commercial real quick and then and bring you back and we'll answer that question. So here we go.
Our kids are the future and should not be left behind. One person should not decide what is the best for our 77 communities. Politicians must work together for our kids' best interest. They deserve a safe education with resources that meet every student need. Let's rebuild and restore Chicago. Vote for me for mayor of Chicago. I'm Dr. Willie Wilson, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Willie Wilson for mayor.
Okay. And we have listeners on our Podbean site as well. And so I just posted the phone number to call in and ask questions, which is 515-605-9325. And if you have a question for Don, you can call in for that. And we're just going to...
Suson Essentials is re-engineering what health looks like by leading you to the best wellness initiatives in the world. Start your coaching plan today and create a new paradigm of health. Click here to learn more.
With a Place of Peace pop-up from Suson Essentials, you are able to increase productivity, mental acuity, leaving you with higher energy and peace in just 20 minutes. We pop up at our office or yours.
All right. So let's go to the question, which is, Don, insights you gained when writing your new book, which is Positive Mindshift. Okay, I got my selenite stick in there. By the way, does anybody know what the selenite stick is? Do you know what the selenite stick is, Don?
That looks like a glue stick to me.
So
who are you trying to kid?
No, it's crystal. And and it's funny that was in your book because it's the happy stick. It's a happy stick. So basically you can take this crystal, put it like on your body, and it clears energy, creating happiness. So, and it was on your book.
And I love it that it's right within the middle of the Positive Mindshift book.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, so go ahead and share with us, what are some of the insights you gained when writing your book? And I'm going to be sharing this information in the thread, okay, so that people can order this. This is available on Amazon, okay? And let me just show people real quick, and then I'll put the link in the, I'll put the link in the thread. So this is where you get it on Amazon. And so if you are listening on YouTube, and it's going to take a second here for it to populate. Well, Facebook, there it is. YouTube, okay. And then I want to do a share screen so that people can see what they're looking for.
Yeah, and if for some reason those links don't work, who knows? But if they don't work, just put in Amazon Positive Mindshift, And of course, the book will come up.
Yep. And that is also will be in the thread. So that's the book. Whoops. There we go.
So Jodi, let me tell you really why I wrote the book. The book is my workshop in book form.
Nice.
And it was all about impacting the lives of people who might pick up and just happen to read this book. That was my pure, whole, authentic motivation, is that people would pick up the book, read the book, and hopefully it would impact their lives. And when I first started writing the book, and I didn't know if I was going to have a publisher, editors, I didn't know any of that. It was a root canal to write, you guys. It was a root canal to write. And I would find other things to do and work and take a client call, etc. But once I landed with the right publisher, and met with my editors, I had 5 different editors during the process of this book. It became an absolute joy to write. And I want you to know that. I want you to know that the words on the page were a joy to write once I found the right publisher, got a bunch of good, really, really caring and supportive editors. Once that occurred, it just took off, and I couldn't wait to get into the office and write.
Well, it sounds like, Don, you knew that you had your tribe around you that was going to make your dreams come to reality. And so that alone, I mean, then you were being valued, you're being heard, right?
My editors believed in the project as much as I did. And I think what I hear from other authors is, quite frankly, that's rather rare. And I know you guys don't want to hear the sausage being made, right? I understand that. But I want you to know that the words that you're reading was actually an absolute joy to do and to write.
Well, I'm glad, because that gets in, and I felt it. So, because your energy, I'm an energy healer, right? And so energy is transcends everything. Energy's in our walls, our chairs, ourselves, everything is energy. And so if you're writing is the ultimate, in my opinion, one of the ultimate energies. And so when you're putting that energy into your book, that I felt it. Like, I felt your joy. I felt your happiness. I felt your intention to help the world heal themselves and to not make it a struggle.
And the timing couldn't be better, because everybody knows this, right? Mm-hmm. But depression is up, anxiety is up, fear is up, frustration is up, well-being is down, engagement is down. The U.S. has dropped another level in the World Happiness Report. Life satisfaction is the lowest in 15 years. And funny, it's the positivity guy bringing up all those negative things. But I'm bringing that up because the timing is perfect for this type of a book that counters our negative environment that is out there, counters a 24-hour negative news cycle. And it is the perfect counter to all of that negativity that's out in the environment.
Yeah. And first of all, you have to address the elephant in the room. So, yeah, the positive guy is going to have to bring up the fact about why going positive is so important, right? Because the epidemic or pandemic is about our negative self-talk and our depression, our anxiety. And there's so many ways, like you talk about in your book about the power of gratitude.
Yeah.
Andrew and I have a gratitude jar, right? And every night before we go to bed, we write 3 things that we're grateful for, before we go to bed. And maybe it's during the day or whatever, but it's before we put our heads down at night. And prior to that, if you don't want to use a jar and put it on your table, get a gratitude journal. Write it there.
I love that. That is probably, when it comes to positive psychology, that is probably the most oft discussed and probably the most researched. Now, when I'm keynoting in front of a group of business people or CFOs, there's a noticeable cognitive dissonance, or at least a little bit of pushback on talking about something that sounds so soft. But gratitude really isn't soft, right? Our chemicals change, our brain change, our blood changes, our cardio changes, the density of our neurons change when we do the gratitude activity, when we are grateful for the things that we have. And here's one of the studies, and this was from Sonia Luber-Mirsky out of the University of California. If you're going to do the gratitude activity, and I love what Jodi just shared, is that she does the gratitude activity by writing down 3 things that she is grateful for. That's basically the gratitude activity that I teach in my workshops or in my keynotes. Here's the thing. The research tells us that if you do that every single day, it will become rote, and chances are you'll get bored with it. So here's my suggestion. Yes, gratitude. Yes, be grateful for the things that you have in your life. But the research tells us, look, do it about every other day and do that for about 45 days. What happens is that the nervous system takes over after those 45 days. Your brain loves new trends. Your brain loves new patterns. And repetition builds habits. So once you build the habit or repeat the gratitude activity about every other day for about 45 days, your nervous system takes over. It can be something that's really powerful. So just every other day, do this activity. And if you're on the call right now or you're listening right now, just take a moment to think about a couple of things in your life, the good things in your life, a couple of things that you are grateful for. Just take a moment and think about those things right now.
So actually, I would actually go one step further. If you're listening on the show, list in the chat 3 things that you're grateful for right now. Let's put it into action. Because I want to tell you, Don, there were days that I missed my jar.
Yeah.
So you know what
Of
I
course.
did? I sent a thank you note in the mail. I sent a thank you on social media to 3 people. I stopped burying my notes in a journal and a jar. And I started sharing the gratitude.
Yeah.
And the reason is, I mean, I had to start where I started, but I feel that if you're not sharing the gratitude, it's like wrapping up a present and not giving it.
Yeah.
I mean, so let's give our presents, let's give our love to those other people.
But I purposely mentioned about our chemicals and about the changes in the brain because I know some people hear gratitude and they might think it's too soft. No. All of this stuff is based on about 25 years worth of research.
Yeah, and actually, but let's use the word soft for a moment. I went to Lake Forest Graduate School of Management, right? And they have a focus on soft skills. What are soft skills? Well, they're the opposite of economics. They're the opposite of
Finance,
right? Soft skills are our ability to communicate intelligently with other people to develop authentic relationships. Those are your soft skills, emotional intelligence. So if the CEO thinks it's soft, say, yes, it is. And this is what you get with a soft skill, right? I say, turn it around. Make the CEO right. He's right. It is soft. And this is what you get with soft.
Yeah, soft skills are based on hard facts.
Amen. Woo!
And I also appreciate that. Is it Mika?
Maika.
Yes. Maika shared her grateful. Andrew, Philip, thank you guys for sharing the things that you are grateful for. But do that about every other day. And this is what I also advise, and you'll see this in the book. Leverage technology to your advantage. So put in your Outlook calendar or your Google calendar a recurring reminder. Leverage technology, you guys. A lot of the people that I coach will come back after they have an assignment and go, oh, God, I kept forgetting to do X. Well, not if you put it in your calendar as a recurring event. So go to your calendar, put this as a recurring event every other day, and watch your nervous system take over after about 30, 45 days.
Yeah, because you can literally retrain your brain. You can literally...
We do it all the time.
Yeah, we do it all the time. I mean, so, and Maika actually says, here's her gratitude list. She says, you and your guests, my life, the possibility of what is to come. Amen. And we got more comments. Hold on. I think Christina's saying people skills are soft skills. Like those are soft. Andrew says he's grateful for good health, continued learning, and the love and the support of my wife. Thank you, Andrew. I love you. Philip says, grateful for the magic of nature. Oh, that just soothes my heart. Wow, I felt that in my heart. A family that loves and accepts me, and for my guides that help me. Wow, do you feel the shift in the energy with gratitude? Like, let that be there for a while.
Yeah, thanks, everybody, for sharing those. Wonderful.
Yeah. What are you grateful for, Don? What's your top 3 list?
Yeah, and it's really, it's both easy and hard to come up with that because I really lead a blessed life, and I'm so blessed and lucky. I get to wake up each day and do this work.
Right.
This is what I do for a living. So I'm grateful that I get to do this. I'm grateful for, I am so surrounded by love and support. I my family, my friends, my community. And I'm grateful for my wife and my kids. In their own unique way, they are special and wonderful and loving and supportive and hilarious and smarter than me.
Well, my father told me all my life that to be successful, you have to surround yourself with people that know more than you.
Yeah. And I'm grateful that that's easy to do.
Yeah, well, yeah, same here, right? So, like, we know what we know. And,
when I was a leader and I was hiring people, I went out of my way to hire people who had the skills that I didn't have, that were better at things that I was not good at. And that really made for effective leadership and effective teams.
Yeah, and really that's key. Hold on a second here. That is so key. And I just want to give people the name of the book again. So it's Positive Mindshift, Making Good Things Happen in Life.
Where did I put it?
There's a hard copy and a Kindle edition. Thank you. And can you share how people can get in touch with you, Don, if they want to hire you?
Absolutely. Don at gopositive.com.
So if you want to type that in the private chat, I'll also share it on the screen.
My pleasure.
Yeah. So, so one of the other things that you talk about in the book, and it's in chapter, well, it's on page 158. It says, practice this ABC approach with your own recent negative event. Because we always have adversity, right? So You can't talk about positivity without talking about the fact that we are, surrounded by adversity. So could you take us through the 1, 2, 3?
Yeah. That is the concept of reframing.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that concept because reframing is something that you can do all day, every day, all the time. Right?
Yes.
And it's the ABC technique. So A is the activating event. The activating event is whatever happened. B is and follows is our behavior or our interpretation. And C is the consequences following that behavior or interpretation.
Yeah.
So A, something happens. B, we interpret that something happened. And then C is what is the consequences of that interpretation. Let me give you a perfect example of that.
Mm-hmm.
So in December of 2010, 2 weeks before Christmas, I was part of an executive team with a company that was struggling that got let go. 50% of the executive team got let go.
Wow.
2 weeks before Christmas. That was my activating event.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That was the thing that occurred. Don got fired. So next is my interpretation, or B is really beliefs. I think I said behavior. B is beliefs. So what's my belief about what just occurred? What's my interpretation that just occurred? And really, you only have two choices. I have a positive interpretation or I have a negative interpretation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if we have a negative interpretation of what occurs, imagine what C is going to be. Imagine what your consequences are going to be. So in this story, Don gets fired. My interpretation is negative. This is a horrible thing. I'm really angry. I'm really frustrated. The consequences of that interpretation are going to be negative as well. I'm going to be angry, frustrated. I'm not going to work on my resume. I'm not going to look forward to interviews. And I'm going to create kind of this self-fulfilling prophecy. But if we have that activating event, Don gets fired, and my interpretation is accepting, is positive, is wait, hold it. This is an opportunity.
Again.
Which is the way that in real life I interpreted that potentially tragic event. So Don gets fired. I have my belief or my interpretation. My belief or my interpretation is positive. This is an opportunity. I can't wait to do my resume. I can't wait to send out my cover letter. I can't wait to interview. And this is my consequences of that positive interpretation. I ended up having a great 5 months off. I got to see my family more. I did a couple consulting gigs. I got published nationally twice. And I ended up getting a new job about 5 months later, and it was better than the old job.
Right.
Right? So that is the ABC of reframing. Everybody has activating events. Then it's our belief or our interpretation. I'm advising, try to interpret positively so that your consequences, the C, end up being predictable positive outcomes. There you go. There's the ABCs of reframing.
So let me ask you this. How many people do you think of the working population have ever been fired? Just a guess.
Well, most.
Yeah. Right?
Right.
Like almost everybody, unless you're your own boss, and then a client can still fire you.
Sure. Right.
And so for those of you who have lost a job, I'm feeling compelled to say this, and you've gotten fired, like, listen to Don. Like, look for the silver lining. Create lemonade out of lemons. Right? Look what Don did. I mean, really, look what Don did. it just makes me smile because we have a choice in the matter. I took a job in leadership, business development, and got fired like probably a few weeks after I took the job. Because what I got is they wanted my connections. Like I got everybody onboarded to what they, my following, if you will, my relationships. And they tried to leverage my relationships and bring it into what they were trying to create. I got it. I got used. It's okay. Because it catapulted me to realize that if I use my energy correctly, that I can just create my own company and go with it, right? You chose to write 2 books. I mean, like given the time, the downtime, meaning the time to pause, the power of the pause, we can pretty much manifest anything. Or we could feel sorry for ourselves. And we have a choice. And I love your choice, Don.
Yeah. We're all going to deal with some type of adversity, but the research tells us that those that don't really or haven't quite yet dealt with adversity, and versus those that have dealt with adversity, the way that human beings adapt, the ones that have dealt with adversity and sometime afterwards end up being more happy and experiencing more positive emotions. That's what the research tells us. So we're all going to have our activating events. We're all going to have our difficult times. We might even have tragedy, but the idea is to turn tragedy into triumph.
Well, right. And then Christina has a question here for you. So she wants to know, so what do you do when the negativity starts to creep in some?
Oh, yeah. And it will, right? We all have a negativity bias. No matter how positive the people are on this call are, we all have a negativity bias. So our job is to push back on that. So one of the things that I would recommend is start being more intentional about paying attention to your self-talk. Start being more intentional about paying attention to the negativity, and then question that negativity. Push back on that negativity. Find evidence for the opposite of that negativity, because your negativity bias is going to make sure that creeps in. Your negativity bias is going to emerge. All you have to do is push back on it.
Yeah, I would say a yes and to that. So I think that, look, I am very intentional about my word choice. I'm very, very intentional, always have been. And I want to tell you, the last 9 days or whatever I've been here on this training for the 2-week training, I learned that I have to shift my words, because words are so powerful, like we said. So you ever heard the expression, "Oh, they're wicked smart"? Wicked smart. You ever heard that, Don?
Yeah.
Is wicked a good word? Kind of not. Or I'm dying to get back to work. Is that a good? People should not be dying to get back. They might be eager, but they shouldn't be dying, right? Because we have to really start thinking about, and I'm like putting myself right there. Like I need to look at the word choice, because it actually shifts our thinking and the emotion that we have in our brain. And so my learning, even in the last 10 days, is even though I thought I was powerful in my thinking, I'm right there with everybody else, right? I have the opportunity to think through how I can be more positive in my speaking, because words are powerful.
Yeah.
We have some other comments. Deborah Smith says positivity and purpose. I love that.
And having a purpose, by the way, and thank you, Deborah, having a purpose has been proven to be one of the keys to well-being, right? So when we know where we're headed, we know why we're existing, we know our why, that leads to higher well-being. So thank you for bringing that up, Deborah.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, when we know our why, Simon Sinek, right? So for those of you, you can go to YouTube and listen to Simon Sinek, Know Your Why. And then Deborah also says, and if the lemonade is still a little tart, add sweetness and love. Amen, sister. And there's so much goodness out there to be had. And Philip says, practiced ABC with a therapist. It's great for easily identifiable activating. It's great for an easily identifiable activating event, but not easy for the subtle triggers that result in emotional reactions. You know, Philip, thank you, because that kind of leads me to this. So I'm going to talk for a moment about that because Philip actually bought one of these from me, and so he knows about the power of this. So we have triggers to people, energy, statements, and this device, which is a headset, which you can also just wear here because it's a vibration, does a reset on the neural network of the brain. It's neuroplasticity in a box, setting it back down to baseline. So for instance, when I got off of disability, let me just take this off. I was triggered probably by a lot. So I think I met you like, I don't know, a year and a half, 2 years later. So when I first got back to work, I bought this because my therapist and I use this for 4 years in sessions. And what it does, it's just sound frequency in a box. And these two dials are the volume. And these two dials are, one is a disruptor dial and one's a frequency dial. And so you set the frequency. So you think of the occurrence or situation that makes you in an upset. And then you disrupt it with the disruptor button. And it's gone in 10 minutes. Like your trigger to that event is gone. And so I had so many of them when I was doing my sales calls. I just put this on my thigh and I ran the vibration all day long. Because I was a hot mess. So, when you get neuroplasticity in a box and you can use it at home, and I own the fact that, I was triggered just by everything. So Teddy June says, thank you, Don and Jodi. You're welcome. Welcome, Teddy. But anyway, so I know you know about neuroplasticity. What types of neuroplasticity do you like and advocate for?
Well, neuroplasticity is really important to understand, because if people have said, I've been negative my whole life, I can't change, I push back on this idea of I can't change by using neuroplasticity. Our brains change all the time. Your brain has changed during the course of this podcast, right? Yes. The brains of people who learn Braille have changed because that part of the brain that they learned Braille actually grew. Taxi drivers in London, big research on the brains of taxi drivers in London, and the part of the brain that has to do with geographic spacing, spatial learning, that part of the brain actually grew in London taxi drivers. People who are experts in meditation, their brain grew. So why do I bring that up? I bring that up to make the case for neuroplasticity. You can change your negativity bias. You can change your habits. You can change the outcomes of your genetics, the outcomes of evolution. All of that can change by shifting your mindset. So we are not prisoners to a brain that stays the same, because that is invalid. Our brain changes and can change due to neuroplasticity all the time. So and I say that to give hope, to give optimism to the people who say, "Oh my God, I've been negative my whole life and I can't change." Yes, you can.
Yeah, and you've done a lot of research, I know, like with Amen clinics, like I have, right? And Dr. Amen did change your brain, change your life, right?
Yes, and Dr. Amen does a great job of diving into food as medicine.
Yeah.
How our diet and our behavior, our exercise, our activities, right? And just some subtle changes in diet, in exercise can affect the health of our brain.
Yeah. So two things. Thank you for mentioning that. I have a functional food program, and right now it ranges from, depending on the number of attendees, from $1,000 to over $1,500. And I'm working with a lot of different people and in different categories of income. And so what I realized, and I was called by God to do this, is to make it self-paced. So, like, you know how you wrote your book and everybody can afford your knowledge because it's whatever, $21.99, or I can't see the price actually, but it's like $15, $20, something like that, right? So you were called to put your information in a package that everybody can afford. So I'm doing the same. So my program will be $99, and it'll be a members only access. And then you get access to all the information that you need at a pace that works for you. And there's an opportunity for you to test your knowledge and to go back and make sure you understand those things that maybe you didn't catch the first time, because it's a lot to absorb. I mean, you know, and you don't have to be on drugs unless you choose to be on drugs. And I speak that from someone who was on 20 different medications, right? Or whatever number, somewhere around there. I honestly don't keep track anymore. You have a choice in the matter. And food is your medicine. I mean, it's really your medicine. I want to talk about for a moment, not related to brain health, but kind of, cholesterol. Right? They're putting actually, this is highly related to brain health. Never mind. Let's go. So cholesterol is highly related to brain health. How? Well, number one, the Western way to resolve that is a statin. A statin will increase your propensity to get pre-diabetes or diabetes. It will also increase your propensity for depression, i.e. brain health. Thirdly, it will help your muscles tear, right? I have evidence of that all over the place. I'll actually be redoing the video that I did on YouTube because it's a little wonky. But you can check out my YouTube channel on that. Basically, you can have 4 Brazil nuts a month, not a day, not a week, a month. 4 Brazil nuts will drop your cholesterol by about 20 points. 20 Brazil nuts. And 4 nuts a month is cheaper than any drug. And you don't have to sacrifice your brain health. You don't have to sacrifice your blood sugar levels. And you don't have to sacrifice your muscles. And you can have happiness and joy. And so that's why I'm doing what you are doing, Dawn. I'm making health and access to health in a easy to access, in your case, a book, in my case, a program.
You know, when I get specific in there, and this is found probably in chapter 8, I really get specific about the things that you can do to sustain positive emotions for the long term. Yeah, that chapter is called Shifting Mindsets. And I really get into the details, the specific behaviors, the specific interventions, the specific actions that you can take. And one of those is called make sure you take your meds.
Mm-hmm.
And that is meditation, exercise, diet, and sleep.
I love it. So, in honesty, I didn't have a chance because of the overlap of my training and the timing of receiving your book. I didn't get a chance to read the whole book, but talk about that, because first of all, I love the acronym. That is flipping awesome.
I was actually working with one of my clients, and we were talking about what they were going to do on their team to change some of the team culture. So then they were speaking about we were talking about interventions. Well, okay, meditation, yes. Exercise, yes. Diet, yes. Sleep, yes. So let me pull out one of those. Okay, let me pull out one of those. So we've already talked about diet. And by the way, I have a recommended diet actually in chapter 8. And it's nothing crazy. It's just, look, guys, eat better. But I talk about exercise, right? Now, a lot of people will take pharmaceuticals as an antidepressant, right? And if they work, and if they work for you, absolutely take them. But let's talk about exercise for a minute. Now, we know that there's a lot of benefits to exercise. We know that.
Yeah.
But exercise is the number one way to grow new neurons, the number one way to rid your body of cortisol, right?
Yes.
It is really, really powerful. It boosts your immune system. But here's the one that I really love about exercise, that when they've compared the outcomes of exercise versus taking antidepressants, not only were the outcomes of exercise just as good, if not better, there was zero after effects.
Yeah.
No, zero side effects. And the only side effects that there were good side effects. So look, if antidepressants help you, by all means, take them. But when I coach people, I spend a lot of time talking about exercise because it's so powerful. And remember those dose chemicals we talked about earlier, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins, GABA? You get a release of those chemicals when you exercise.
All day. So I want to do a yes and to that. So yes, exercise. And if you were like me, I was disabled and I could barely walk. Let me give you an alternative to get to where Don's telling you to go. Try just walking up and down the stairs. It's not heavy duty exercise. You don't have to weight lift. You don't have to go run a mile. Start one step at a time. You can do it. I started just by going down 3 flights of stairs to get my mail and walking back upstairs.
Hey, Jodi, would you show Christina's her note that she has on there? Can you blast that across the screen?
Yeah, which one? She has many.
Her last one at 8:42.
Okay. At 8:42.
Yeah, it will support exactly what you're saying.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, you're at 9 and I'm at 9. Okay, hold on. Let me go.
So, thank you, Christina, for sharing this.
Oh, exercise does not have to be boring either. Find something you enjoy doing. It will help you stick with it. I love to dance every morning. That's my routine. Love it. Yeah.
With all of these routines, with all of these activities that we talk about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Meditation, exercise, diet, sleep, reframing, gratitude, building authentic relationships. With all of these things, choose the ones that you really enjoy doing, because that way you'll stick to it. If you feel that for some reason doing the gratitude activity just doesn't work for you, fine. Find a different gratitude activity, because you want to do, as Christina suggests, find the things that you enjoy doing and you'll keep doing them.
Well, yeah. So this was given to me as a gift. Talking about it, this is gratitude. It's a gratitude candle, and this one's made with Responsibly products. So just want to say, if you're going to burn a candle, make sure it doesn't have toxins in it. Okay. And you guys all already know that I'm about toxin free, because if you are consuming toxins, it will impact your brain health and your mood. So, but I want to read this candle.
So if you don't feel like writing 3 things that you're grateful for every day, okay, try this instead. Burn a candle, burn a gratitude candle. Or if you don't have a gratitude candle, just write gratitude on it. Okay. you can just write gratitude. But this is their definition. Gratitude is taking the time to notice the good, even when things are less than ideal. It requires you to count your blessings and recognize how beautiful life is, even when it's not quite going as planned. So, gratitude helps you stay in the present moment. Learn to retrain your brain. This is on the candle, everybody. This is what we're talking about. Learn to retrain your brain to think about the silver linings in life. And if you want to get one of these, it's divinepurity.co. It was given as a gift to me this week, and I found it in my suitcase from one of my sisters here, right? So you don't necessarily, maybe it's just lighting a candle once a day in gratitude and thinking about the things that you're grateful for. Now, I prefer, and there's research behind it, the act of writing it down because it gets it into your brain. It's more powerful, but start where you're at and love yourself where you're at. Anything you want to add to that, Don?
Yeah, you talked about writing while you're learning, writing while you're growing, writing while you're developing is a neuromotor activity, which means that we learn deeper, we learn better. So I second that thought. Yes, gratitude. Eventually our nervous system takes over and we start looking for the good things that are around us instead of the negative things. Remember, your brain wants to go to the negative things.
Yeah.
Our brain, the primary function of our brain is our survival, not our life satisfaction. So we're going to push back on that negativity bias a little bit by reframing, by taking our meds, meditation, exercise, diet, sleep, by doing the gratitude exercise, by doing more exercise. Here's the other benefit of exercise, by the way. Mm-hmm. When we exercise, we increase our blood flow. And when we increase our blood flow, we lower inflammation, and inflammation is the number one reason for chronic disease. But the other benefit of blood flow throughout our body is that it also means that we have increased blood flow to our brain, which helps us create a more healthy and younger brain. When we increase blood flow to our brain, it brings with it glucose, it brings with it oxygen, the very elements that the brain needs to be healthy and work at its most efficient state. So let's do a quick activity. So if whoever's on the phone or whoever's on the call, let's just do a really quick activity to increase our blood flow, and it's not that wacky or crazy. All right, Jodi, are you ready to join in with me?
I am.
All right, raise your hands. Open and close your hands. Yep, open and close your hands. Now bring it to the side. There you go. Good. Now wrap your arms. Open and close your hands, and then we're going to go up top one more time. Up top one more time. Just by doing that, you guys, we increase our blood flow to our whole body, but especially to our brain, helping our brain to be at an optimal state.
And I'm so grateful that you did that, because it's just like, it's easy. And even if you're bedridden, you can probably still do that. Right? Because like if you're bedridden, if you're sick, you're disabled, you can still do this exercise and start increasing the blood flow to your brain.
And we touched on meditation really briefly. Now, meditation does all kinds of benefits for us, right? It lowers our cortisol, it rewires the networks in our brain, it increases our mood, it releases the happy chemicals. There's all kinds of benefits to meditation. Forget about our perception that it's some Eastern philosophy. the proof is that it really helps us to rewire our brains and bring us back control of our brains. So let's do a quick exercise. Whoever's on the call, whoever's on the podcast, we're going to do a really, really quick breathing exercise as we wrap up today's session. So this is what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to have your feet, if you're standing, great, you can do it standing. If you're sitting, feet planted firmly on the ground, put your hands on your lap. Try to have good posture, not obnoxious posture, but good posture. Just be comfortable. And I'd like you to close your eyes just for a moment. Just pause, you guys. Really simple, giving you permission to pause. A little self-care. Be where your feet are. Close your eyes. Focus on your breathing. And we're all going to take a deep inhale in through our nose. And exhale out your mouth. Now let's do that really deep. Let's do that again. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. Remember, just focus on your breathing. Other thoughts might come into your brain. Who cares? Don't fight them. Just focus on your breathing. Let's do one more deep breath in. And exhale. Think positive thoughts. Put a smile on your face. It's going to be a great day. Open your eyes when you're ready. I don't know about you, but I'm ready for the day.
Amen. And I want to make sure that other people are ready to take on today and tomorrow. So I'm just going to share again. And actually, I'm going to run a commercial while I'm sharing your book here. So give me one moment.
Yeah, and I'd love it. Anybody can reach out to me. Any questions that you have?
All right. I'm going to run the commercial that I was supposed to run a few minutes ago. Real quick.
Taxes are higher than ever. Every day, thousands of our residents leave Chicago to shop in Indiana. Jobs are being lost, and businesses are relocating. Let's find a way to lower our taxes to encourage residents to continue living and shopping in our city. Let's rebuild. Let's restore Chicago. Vote for me for mayor of the city of Chicago, and I will work hard to find solutions that matter. I'm Dr. Willie Wilson, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Willie Wilson for mayor.
All right. So we got that last commercial in. Got to make sure we honor, our advertisers. So I want to, and actually, we have a few minutes left. I do want to make sure that I send out my gratitude. Really, it's such a gift to show up in the morning and with you, Don, right? Because you have so much to give. And thank you for allowing us to be here in your presence and to share your wisdom.
It was a joy for me as well. So thank you.
Yeah, you have so much to give. And I've known Don for quite some time, people. So I encourage you to reach out to him. He has a lot to offer. Buy his book. Like that. And do you have a YouTube channel that they can follow, or you have a?
I'd recommend that they just go to my website, and all those places you can follow me is on the website, and it's easy, right? GoPositive.com. Go positive without the E.com.
All right. So, and I'll put that in the chat again. I think I have the email address up there. I'm not sure that I have actually I do have that. Let me do this.
And thank you for sharing that. Thank you for asking about the book. And I love it when people reach out and they have questions about this stuff. So even if it's just a question, you want some information on a study, it's my pleasure to share it with you.
Yeah, and I think I have my executive producer calling in. I think this is her number. It's coming up as a 111, and oftentimes it does that. So what I'm going to do, we have 6 minutes, and I just want to see if we can take this caller, 111111. Probably different on your end, but we'll give it a shot.
Giving honor to God, giving honor to
Hello?
God, and
Thank you for
sending
calling.
love.
Hello?
Hello, giving honor. Hello?
Hello. Are you calling
Can
into
you
the
hear?
Yes.
Yes, I am, Jodi. I'm praise and giving honor to God and sending love and energy right back to you and Don. I thoroughly enjoyed listening to the show and receiving the love and energy that you all are sending. And even though we do live in this dual world where we do have choice and there's a lot of dark energy out there, the positive love and energy that you all are sending out is so important. I thoroughly thank you. I'm going to follow. What's your last name, by the way, Don? I want to get that. But I had to go positive without the e.com because I really wanted to get that, find out, and follow you. And my name is Brother MacArthur, Neil MacArthur from Chicago, and I really enjoyed the show. And it's been so much. I'm just sending that love and energy back, and may God continue to bless you all and continue great work. Thank you.
Thank you. And Don, would you like to give your last name and the spelling?
What a thoughtful person to call in and just give those affirmations.
Yeah.
That's a very, very thoughtful person. So as you can see on the screen, it's Don Sandel, Sandel. And thank you for just taking the time to share that affirmation. That was very kind.
We appreciate you.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
And my executive producer, Naima Latif, says such powerful information. Thank you for this show. And really gratitude to Naima for making this show possible. Really, without you, we would not have a vehicle to share wisdom and our voices. So we're so grateful to you for making
Naima. She does all the real work.
She really does. I mean, she's been doing this for 20 years. So we're beyond grateful. And so thank you to everyone. Andrew Calhoun, Christina Fazula, Maika, Teddy June, Philip Shannon, Deborah Smith, and Don Sandel, of course, myself. I'll give gratitude to yourself, people. Just saying. Teddy June, right? Give gratitude to yourself because you got to love yourself first. And so I encourage you to reach out to Don. And I encourage you to buy his book on Amazon. It's easy. If you prefer Kindle, you can do Kindle, or you can do the hard copy. I did both. That's who I am.
Thank you, Jodi.
All right. So and so I'm going to close the Blog Talk phone. Do you have anything else you would like to share before we, or do you have a quick question for Don or anything else, or before I close the Blog Talk?
Could you mention the name of the book again? Because I'm not online. Could you mention the name of the book?
Sure. It's called
90 Seconds.
Positive Mindshift. Positive Mindshift. It's
Thank you.
And yeah, and so since you can't see it, it's got two heads on it facing each other in orange, and puzzle pieces are where the brain is, because the brain can be puzzling, but it doesn't have to be. Just gonna say. Yeah, we take the guesswork out, people. Don takes
60
the guesswork
seconds.
out. All right. Thank you. Oh,
have a wonderful day.
You too.
Thank you. You too. Thank you, everybody. Have an awesome day. And if you're in Europe, have an awesome night.
Oh, yeah. Right. Okay. So very, very good. And let me just see if we, and why don't you go ahead and just verbalize how people can get in touch with you again, just as we're closing this off?
Sure. My website is gopositive.com, go positive without the E. And send me an email. Let's talk. Don@gopositive.com. Again, that's go positive without the E.
Awesome. Thank you. God bless. All right.